Many of us grew up on retro games, and even if you didn't, at some point in your life you played the classic Super Mario or even classic Pac-Man, and we are always greeted with the sweet soundtrack most of these, if not all of these retro games have to offer. This genre of electronic music is known as 8-bit music, and the impact continues to grow till this day. So with that, let's get into the impact of 8-bit music. Eight-bit music, also known as chiptune or chip music, originated in the late 70s and gained momentum in the late 80s and 90s. This distinct sound comes from the use of sound chips in vintage video game consoles, arcade machines, and home computers. The limitations of early hardware used these chips to generate sounds rather than relying on traditional instruments. 8-bit sounds like the NES's Rico 2A03 had a limited number of sound channels, like around 3 to 5, each capable of producing specific waveforms. 8-bit music features simple yet catchy melodies that are easy to remember. That's why they are easily recognizable. When we hear a certain sound or piece of music from a retro game, we can immediately distinguish which video game or program it came from. Some of these sounds and music are so iconic that no matter how much time passes, we will always remember them. During the golden age of arcade games, which took place during the late 70s and early 80s, video games were growing at an exponential rate, and companies not only wanted to improve on previous iterations, but enhance the soundtracks to make them not only easily distinguishable, but iconic. Space Invaders broke barriers when it became the first video game to use a continuous melody. Creator Tomohiro Nibishako programmed the descending loop to increase in tempo as the game progressed. We will never forget the sounds that came from retro games like Tetris or Pac-Man, the nostalgic feeling we get as soon as we see the gameplay start up, or hear the iconic theme that I can't play for you due to copyright, but you know exactly how these soundtracks sound. This fun, creative, nostalgic genre has found its way into pop culture as well, from the sound and aesthetic of Wreck-It Ralph, to the 8-bit music composed in the film The Wizard of Speed and Time, and to the soundtrack of Stranger Things. The nostalgia takes us back to a simpler time, whether it's in our childhood or when we first heard these fun and upbeat sounds. In modern times, 8-bit music or chiptune has evolved and gained a dedicated community online. Creating these sounds have obviously become easier with technology, being able to replicate the simple sounds that were limited back then. Many creators online have turned mostly any popular song into an 8-bit chiptune version of it. It's amazing. 8-bit sounds are often sampled in hip-hop, heavy metal, and even pop. There's just something about sprinkling in a little bit of 8-bit into a song that can change the way we listen to it. Even video games released in modern times have returned to the old chiptune sound. Games such as Shovel Knight and Undertake went back to the beginning and have adopted retro graphics, simple gameplay, and of course, the classic 8-bit soundtracks. I'm excited to see where 8-bit goes in the future, with technology evolving and creators becoming more creative and experimenting with new ideas. It's going to be good to know that that genre and aesthetic will live on forever. Thanks for watching.